John Lott. He's the president at Crime Prevention Research Center and also the author of the book, More Guns, Less Crime. Really great to have you with us, John, on this issue. I first want to start with your reaction to that filing and what you think has motivated it.
Well, the Attorney General from New York had promised to bring, this type of action when she ran for office. That's usually not the way these things work. Usually, if you're talking about this type of activity, there has to be a filing, a charge, an investigation, and then you do it. But you don't go after people that you dislike and then try to find some types of charges. But the bizarre thing is, when you look through a lot of this, it's, she has some weird interpretations of what's going on. So, for example, she's talking about Wayne LaPierre going on a private charter, and that's an abuse, that he should be flying commercial. Well, as I understand it, he tried to fly commercial, but there's a lot of gun control advocates out there that would give him a tough time when he would go and fly on a commercial plane. So he started flying in charters. As far as his wife going on, these are his relatives that have been on the planes. His wife, even though she doesn't get a salary, she goes and helps raise money. So, you don't go and dislike somebody and then go and look as carefully as you can to try to make up charges against them. And, this is right before the election. And I think a lot of this is just to hurt the NRA. You're talking about the money that's been spent. The gun control groups have claimed that the NRA has spent $100 million over the last 3 years on their legal defense, because New York's been bringing one lawsuit after another, just trying to use taxpayer dollars from the state of New York to.
I want to touch on that for a second, John. The lawsuit alleges that the NRA and 4 of its top officials diverted millions of dollars away from its charitable mission. Do you see that allegation, whether it's proven true or not, do you see that having any impact on the NRA's influence? And how do you expect the organization to challenge this?
Well, I'm sure they're going to challenge it in court. And look, I don't know the details of the NRA accounting. What I do know is that this Attorney General was promising that she was going to go after the NRA before she did an investigation. That's not the way these things are supposed to look. And that type of bias makes me skeptical of what she's found, particularly when I've gone and looked through the issues there. I did want to make one point with regard to your opening segment. You talk about the NRA spending like $3 million on lobbying. Michael Bloomberg in 2018 spent $110 million just on congressional elections. He spent even more than that on state legislative elections. And that's the gun control group that's there. So, the NRA, people talk about the amount of money that the NRA spends on elections. They're tiny compared to what the gun control groups have been spending and what they've been spending for the last 4 election cycles.
John, what do you think about the president's suggestion to move the NRA to Texas?
I wish they had done this a little while ago. The thing is, it's hard to move nonprofits once you've set them up in a state. The NRA was set up, 150 years ago in New York. New York was a very different state there and at that time. And, it's not going to protect them. If they had maybe moved 5 years ago, they would be protected. But now that they've been there, and it's not going to protect them from the New York State bringing all these lawsuits. New York's been doing lots of things beyond this lawsuit. For example, they've been putting pressure on all the banks that are located in New York City not to go and do business with the NRA. They've been threatening licensing and other things with the banks. I hope that doesn't sound to people like an objective government there that's using laws equally. To go after nonprofits, to go, particularly based on whether you dislike them or not politically, to go and try to force banks to stop doing business with nonprofits by threatening their licensing. If we get into a world like that where, both parties go after the opponent's nonprofits, it's going to be a real mess.
All right. John Lott, the president of the Crime Prevention Research Center, we really appreciate you being with us.